Alright, so we are looking at our storyboard template, and we're just going to look at in InDesign how to populate our frames. There's like a whole bunch of different ways you can do it, but if I'm wanting to do my storyboards, I can do it in Photoshop, I can do it in Illustrator, I can do it by photographs, I can copy and paste out of the internet if I needed, you know, a shot or a reference shot that I wanted to put in here. And really all this is just coming out of your screenplay. So you should have been breaking down your shots, wide shots, medium shots, long shots, you know, how many characters on a screen. You just thumbnail it out, and this way when you go to set, you'll have, you know, really worked out what it is that you're doing. So let's start. I'm going to start with Photoshop. So in Photoshop, I'm going to start with a new document, and I'm going to hit Create New over here, and I want to find something that's going to be an HD frame, a 16:9 frame. Now generally 72 ppi is not that great for printing, so if I'm printing this out onto paper, but since they're going to be smaller frames, so there's going to be 3 of them on a page, this will actually be fine. So it's not a big deal, but if I were to make, say, full page designs, I definitely want to be 150 ppi to 300. 300 is generally what magazines and everything are resolution you'd be at. So and you do it 8.5 by 11. So but we're using pixels because we just want to mimic the frame of a video, an HD video. And certainly if you were doing 4K, you could choose a 4K setting, but again, we're not doing this for the actual video itself. We're just doing this for storyboard frames. So keep it simple, stupid. HD TV it is, and if I want, I can call this something before I do it. So I'll call it Scene 1, Shot 1. And hit Create. So now I'm in Photoshop, and here I can start working on my storyboard frames. And what we're going to do is just use this as a drawing program. Obviously Photoshop is a Photoshop program. It's for editing photos, but it also has just paint tools, so paintbrush, and it's got an eraser, so we can just use it, you know, for whatever we want. And Photoshop isn't the only tool we'll use today. We'll look at a few others. So if I go View, I can actually turn off these guides because I'm not going to use them. They're not really meaningful for me. In your editing program, you can turn them usually on and off as overlays. Not that they'll show up in your video when you print your video, but you can put the overlays on. After Effects allows you to do that, and it just allows you to make sure that you're working within action safe and title safe. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to clear the guides. If you ever want to make guides, you need to have rulers on. So you'd say View, Rulers, and then you can just drag guides out from the rulers, and then anytime you want to do something precise with guides, you can do that. I'm going to undo that, and I'm going to turn my rulers off, and then we're just going to look at the tools we have. So we've got a brush tool and an eraser tool, and up here I've got all the different kinds of brushes I can use. I just want to use something very simple, like say a soft round. Pressure is fine. I'm using a tablet. If you're using a mouse, pressure won't matter at all. It's either on or off. And 8 pixels seems to be like a good size for the brush, but you could, you know, that'll be just like this. And if you want to increase or decrease that, you just get a much larger brush. Of course, this for a storyboard is ridiculous. We wouldn't do that. So I find 8 pretty good because it'll read well, and it's not too thick a brush. So I just hit 8. And say I wanted to start storyboarding here, you know, I can draw a character on the screen. Now the thing about Photoshop though is that when you're starting with this background layer, and the background layer is just a solid background. It's not transparent or anything, and it's locked. So with Photoshop, often you want to start either by unlocking this layer and making this your background layer, or what you can do is create a new layer on top as layer 1, and you can call it character if you want to name your layers, which is great to do. Now I'm just going to be on this nice transparent. You can see there's a transparency grid there where there isn't one in the background. So now I could just start drawing on here. Now the reason why you might want to use layers, and this is, you know, storyboards are not just meant to be guides for yourself. So if you wanted to, very grumpy, very angry. If I wanted to have character 1 here and then make another layer for character 2, of course she's mad at this fella. He's done something. He looks like Fred Flintstone. He's got wee beady eyes. He's happy. You know, you could draw out your storyboard frames this way. The nice thing about working on layers is I can turn a layer off, I can edit them separate, which doesn't really matter since they're on transparency, meaning that if I wanted to take a marquee tool here and just delete him, I can just delete him, even if he was on the same layer as her. Or if I just wanted to make alterations and say, oh, that looks terrible, it was just a rough drawing and his chin's bad, I can go to my eraser tool and erase elements as well. So, you know, it's just however you want to work. Go back to your brush. Now your brush colors here, you might not have the same color, so if you click on your color, you can change the brush color. So if I wanted her to say she was walking into the frame, I could indicate that with an arrow. Maybe he's raising his hand to say hi to her. So I'll go back to black, and what I can do is just click on this black and white button here, and I'll put it back to black. I could click in it and choose black as well. And you can also swap these two guys. So say he's waving at her, you know, whatever, however you want to do it. And then you say you want to go back to the red color. Here you have, I can click on this and choose again, but you can also see on the other side I have swatches, and if you don't have them, you under window, and everything of course can be opened up here. So if I want swatches, I click on swatches, and now I can see there's RGB swatches, so I can just go red, and say he's waving at her. I can indicate that, then go back to black, make any alterations I want, and off I go to the races. Now if you don't know how to draw, or you're finding it with a mouse is terrible, or let's just say you're not a very good artist and you want to just sort of trace some images, you can do that as well. So say I want to place an image in to be an opening shot. And I've used this before, so I'm just going to go File and Place, and I'm going to place Embedded. Embedded means it's going to be in the document, which means when I save the document it's going to be big. Linked will link to an outside file. But for me, I'm just going to hit Embedded for right now. I'm going to go to my little storyboards and say I wanted to start my boards with a, you know, a road. I can place an image in here, and this tool here is the Move tool. I can move this image around to where I want to put it, and then if I want to draw, you know, trace it, I can trace it by just creating a new layer, getting a brush, and then just brushing over. So if there's any sort of imagery that you like, but you're not a good artist, and you say, or you don't, you know, here you have to figure out perspective. So I might say, okay, well, I'm just going to draw this road. Doesn't have to be perfect. Even with a Wacom tablet, right? I have to practice with it to make it go well. But say, you know, this is a road. There's a horizon that goes across the horizon. And I'm going to include the mountains in the background. But I might add a few clouds up here. So then what I can do is I can just turn off that trace layer and say, okay, I've got a good start here. You know, and I have my character is on the side. And this was before, you know, do a little stick figures. And there we go, you know, and then it's on to the next frame and onto the next frame. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to save this as a singular frame. And I know, you know, we could do this as artboards. So I'm just call this scene 1, shot 1. We can do this as artboards, which is something I'm not going to get into here, where you have multiple images here, but I found if you're just doing it singular, it's a lot easier to work with InDesign. All right, so I'm going to go to InDesign, and I'm going to just click on this frame, and I'm going to place that image in. So go File, Place. I'm going to get Scene 1, Shot 1, hit Open, and it comes in all sort of wonky like this. So it's obviously not exactly what I want. It's pixelated and horrible. I'm just going to right click on this, and I'm going to go to Fitting, and then I'm just going to say Fit Content to Frame, and there I go. There's my first frame. And now say I want my second frame, I want maybe a close-up or something of her arm, the thumb, anything like that. So, you know, I can just keep on going. Go back to Photoshop. Then I'm going to say File, New. And you'll see that when I do HGTV, you see the background contents right now is white, but I can actually change that. Because remember how the background layer is white over here. I can make this transparent. And worry about that later. And then I can hit Create, so 1920 by 1080 again. And I've got a brand new layer. And then I can sit and work on that close-up. So maybe her shoulder is here. Arm is coming out, elbow, wrist, whatever, doesn't matter. You know, like I said, you don't need to be a great artist. And hand comes out, thumb, and you know, that's sort of the shot. I really want the thumb to be the central focus in a close-up. And what I can do is go here, and I can say, you know, go here and indicate that they're wiggling their wrist or whatever. And it doesn't have to be pretty, and I say that because if you look at like Hitchcock's sort of thumbnails for, this is his thumbnails for Psycho, you know, he's just giving himself the idea of what it is. There's an eyeball looking through a peephole, you know, someone in the shower, and a knife comes in, and you know, screaming. So he's, you know, thumbnailing sort of what he wants his montage to be, which is really what the Psycho scene is. So it's, you know, if your drawings are naive and not so great, that's fine, because they're for you. They're not meant to be published. They're not going to be shown. This is just for you on set to go, yeah, I got to get that close-up, and I want to make sure it looks, you know, something like the framing that you've decided upon. So I'll just save this as, we have a shot 2 here. I'm just going to replace Scene 1, Shot 2, File, Place. Let's put Shot 2 in, Scene 1, right click and Fit Content to Frame, and there we go. And it's fine. Now if it looks really terrible on yours, it could be under the view on display performance. If, see, this is typical display. If you go fast display, it doesn't even fill them in. So if it doesn't look that great, you're probably on a display performance of typical. If you go to high quality, this is how it'll actually print out. It'll look like this. And then here you can start filling in the stuff from your shot list and your screenplay. So I'm going to reuse this panel, but maybe this time, you know, this is going to be my shot 3. So I might go File, Save As, and I'll call this, right now it's Scene 1, Shot 1. I'm going to say this is Shot 3. And I'll say Save. And now what I might want to do is indicate a camera move. So I've gone to the close-up of her hand. This doesn't make any real good sense. I'm going to change it to red. And then I might say, okay, well, let's truck in now to a close-up of her, but not a close-up of her, but like a long shot of her. So then I might say, indicate a camera move here. And now I'm going to hit Save. And now there's a couple of ways I could do this, right? But since this is all on one frame, I can actually duplicate this layer and then go up to here into my transform And it says show transform controls up here, so they're here already. I could actually just do my zoom in here, say this is what I want to get to, and this way I'm not jarring myself. I'm just gonna, and then I'm gonna turn this guy off, and I'll say, okay, so this is I'm gonna save this now, save as, and I'm gonna save this as scene 3, but I'll put it like 3A. So it's shot 3A, scene 1, shot 3A, and hit save. Back to my InDesign, I can start to, I'll take this, choose that frame, place, I'll place in shot 3, fit. And if you can learn the keys, that's great. I can do that, and then if I go to page 2, I can do the same thing, file, place. And I'll put in 3A. Right click. And there we go. So it doesn't look too bad. It did a good job of blowing it up. So now, here's my board. So I'm going to push in, I'll go here. And then when I do my panels, this is where the panel becomes, the one shot is actually 2. So this would be panel 1 of shot 3, right? So we'd say panel 1 of shot 3, scene 1. And when I go over to page 2 here, this would now be scene 1, shot 3, panel 2, and that just indicates that they're the 2 panels for the same shot. So the good thing about Photoshop is that I can edit these images. So if I want to make a change to it, in InDesign, I want to make a change to this frame here. What I can do is I can go back to Photoshop, and I can say, you know what, I want this to be a real close-up of that thumb. I don't even want her in it now. I just want her arm, her thumb, and the wiggle. You know, maybe something in the background. Maybe there is a, go back to my brush, back. You know, you can see the sky in the background, and the horizon's down there, and the cars going by, and all that kind of stuff. But this is what I want, you know, and tumbleweeds in the background. There's the desert. So say this is now, I've made an edit of this. I say this is how I actually really want to shoot it, and I want to make sure I remember to do that. I just made the change. I just hit save. I hit Control S, save. I can hit File, save if you like wasting your time doing that kind of thing. Control S or Command S for save. And then I go back to InDesign, and you'll see InDesign has an indicator now. It says, oh, you've made a change there. I say, yes, I did. And then I say, update it, and there it is. So now I've got this shot to this shot. We're going to truck in here to that shot, and off you go. And I can just go down the line. The great thing about InDesign is that you can, you don't have to necessarily save. You can copy and paste stuff into InDesign as well. If I go to Unsplash, which was the free website for images that you can use. Of course, you can use Google Images. If you're just storyboarding, you're not going to publish these. So if you want to use stuff that is copyright, it's fine, because you're not going to publish your boards. If you publish your boards, obviously, then someone would say, hey, you're using my images. But if I'm just sort of noodling a design idea or anything, and I just want to put reference frames in or anything, I can do that. So I could just look up hitchhiker. So hitchhiking, let's look that up, and then we'll see, you know. So there's a shot. So say I wanted this is to be my reference. Here, I can right click on anything in the internet or anything in any program. So, and we'll look at this with your photos. Say you have an iPhone or a Google phone or anything like that, an Android phone, you know, where your pictures get stored outside of your device on a cloud service, you can just copy just like this. Copy the image. Once you copy it and paste it, though, you're not going to be able to edit it other than to recopy and repaste. So, but say I did want to just put this in as a reference. So I can right click on here and I can just say paste into. And then it pastes the image into here, and it's not showing up properly, obviously, again, because we go with fitting. And we'll just fit content proportionally, or you can fit it, you know, whatever way works. Fit content to frame distorts it, but it does, if you don't care, that's fine, as long as the idea is there, right? So here it is, this is what I want. And again, if you have a service like Google Images, or you want to use Google Images, you can. If you have a service like Instagram, or for me, Google Photos, which is a good segue into this. If you want to hand draw your storyboards, you can draw them on a piece of paper and then photograph them. The photographs will go into your cloud space. You can use that cloud image, and you can use that in InDesign. I could use this, but it's very unprofessional, which doesn't matter to some degree. Like I said, no one's going to really see your boards, but there is a certain amount of pride you have in having it look a little bit professional. So I would probably put this in Photoshop first. But also, if I put this in Photoshop, I can edit it in Photoshop as well. So let's do that. I'm just going to right-click, copy the image, go to Photoshop. Now, once you copy an image, if you have it in the clipboard will show up here, and it shows up as clipboard, the same size as what I just copied out of my browser. I don't want this because I do want the shape to be the right 16 by 9. So I'm going to choose still the custom, and I'm going to hit create. And now what I'm going to do is just paste that image in. So I'm just going to go file or edit, paste. And now you paste in large. I'm going to hit command or control minus. Use my selection tool, and then I can resize to basically fit inside of this HD frame. And I might say, you know, like it's, so I'm going to clear my guides here again. Just puts them in automatically. So I might want to just alter the contrast of this image a bit to make it more black and white. The thing is, it's not really like, I didn't press that hard on my things. If I used like an black ink marker, this would work better. But since I didn't, you know, just my pencil drawing. But anyway, this is fine for what I want. But the nice thing is now I can make alterations to this as well. So I can, you know, erase stuff. I can add stuff to it. I can make changes here in Photoshop. And then if I hit File Save, and I just hit Control S, and say I wanted to replace Scene 1 Shot 1. Say this is how I'm going to do it now. Hit save, yes. If I go back to InDesign, so say I can save this as, and I'll do Scene 1 Shot 1 again. I'm just going to replace the old one. Hit save, yes. So I've saved it, and now if I go to InDesign, InDesign's going to say, hey, you made a change to that board again. I'm like, yes, I did. And there we go. So that new one will go in. So it's just the way of working that way. And if you want to work in something like, you know, Sketchbook Pro, even Microsoft Paint, you know, if you have mspaint, or if you have a paint program in your iPad or anything like that, anything that allow you to export as a JPEG or anything like that, you can use it to do your storyboards. So I can use crappy old mspaint. I got all the same tools as I had before, and all I have to do then is save as, and then it gives you options, right? So I can just save as a PNG or a JPEG. So if I just save it as a JPEG, and I go put it in that folder, and I say call it scene 4 shot 1, do it that way. And then if I go into InDesign, I can then now go to a new frame and then just import again, like place scene 4 shot 1 JPEG. And if I want to edit that JPEG, I can bring that into Photoshop, do all that kind of stuff. You get the idea. There you go. So this is all the different ways that you can get stuff into your InDesign storyboards and populate them any which way you want. Like the other way that was that I did show was doing photographs. So if I hit here and I hit File, Place, and I'd done photographs with my daughter of just like, oh, this would be kind of a neat way of doing it. So these are photos from my camera. And then I can just do it photographically. So you don't like to draw, but you can take photographs with your location or something approximating what it is that you want to do. So here we go. I pop this in. I can do my photo storyboards, style boards, anything like that. And then when I go to do my final, filming of this, then I'm going to set up my lights, and I'm going to spend all the time at making it look the mood and the quality that I want. So that's that, and hopefully that wasn't way too long-winded, but at least I'll put chapter markers in and you can just skip along at will. Thank you very much.